And it's time for another video on the Renaissance. Hooray! So with this video, we're asking ourselves, why Italy? Of all the places in the world, why did the Renaissance begin in Italy, or really more specifically, the Italian city-states? Was it a coincidence? Odds are probably not. There's many factors as to why it began in Italy. Some scholars will debate which ones were more important, or if some were really even a thing or not. We're going to go over some of the main reasons today. So when we do this, there's two standards in particular we're going to cover. Standard 2, which is to determine the factors that led to the Renaissance, the significance of the location of the Italian city-states as the center of the Renaissance, and the impact on the art. This really just focuses on that middle part, the significance of the location of the Italian city-states. Where Florence, where Venice, where Rome, where Genoa was. And then standard 3 asks us to explain how innovations from Asian and Islamic civilizations, as well as from ancient Greek and Roman culture, laid the foundation for the Renaissance. So we're going to talk about this as well, how they didn't just develop everything by themselves. They did it with help from other civilizations nearby and also from their own past. So let's look at that first. Let's look at geography. Geography is always important for whatever we're studying in history. And geography has an impact. So this location is significant. Look at where that Italian boot is and the Italian city-states are. Look how it's surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea. That means all these port cities along the coast could get their goods out and about, whether it's around the Italian city-states, maybe it's to the east to the Islamic kingdoms, maybe it's north to other parts of Europe, maybe it's south from the kingdoms in North Africa. It really made a difference. And this trade wasn't just to get new things. This trade meant money. And the Renaissance, well, to make those things, you had to spend money somehow, right? So you have these ships. Look at this ship here in the northern part of the Italian city-states near Venice. Well, if they wanted to get their goods to North Africa, they could do that because water meant access. And you could go maybe drop some stuff off in Florence first and then head down, hey, Cairo, wherever. Here we are. So trade means wealth. Whether it's Florence with its woolen industries or whatever else it had, they could make money selling stuff. They could make money bringing stuff back. This also meant healthy competition. Competition leads to more things flourishing. This also really helped the banking system, especially in Florence, so that things could continue to develop. But that's not the only reason location was important. What they saw where they were was important. So think of their past. Ancient Greece and Rome, right, used to be in that area. And many of its remains were still standing. You can still see parts of the Colosseum today, right? So little fictional story here. Suppose you're Da Vinci and you're walking around and you see the Colosseum. And you're walking around and all of a sudden you think look, we used to do really amazing things. So why aren't we doing that anymore? Why don't we try to make really amazing things again? Look what else is around there. Look, those are the aqueducts. That's amazing. That's science. That's engineering. That's art. Why don't we build things like that anymore? Wait, well, actually look at the sculptures from ancient Greece and Rome that are still standing. Why don't we do art like that anymore? And heck, some of these scholars are bringing in manuscripts and books like Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. Why don't we write stuff like that anymore? Why don't we do this anymore? Why? Why don't we do it again? So the location meant that there were lots of constant reminders of the past, reminders of what they used to be, and motivated them to try to do that stuff again. So let's think of location in a different context. Let's think of people leaving locations. Now, we talked about trade in Italy coming around, right, going around the boot and going to North Africa. Also, this was the end of the Eastern trade. So you still had people that were trading from the Middle East, from even places like China that would end up maybe to Venice and Genoa. So you get these ideas, you get these goods coming. But now look at Constantinople, right, sort of going in the east here. And some will argue that the beginning of the Renaissance happened after the end of something. So the end of the Middle Ages to some was when Constantinople fell like a pile of rocks to the Turks in 1453. And it's not like you just fall and there's no consequences. There was a lot of intellectual scholars in Constantinople, and now it wasn't a good place for them. So many of these intellectual scholars carrying the torch of knowledge fled Constantinople and made it to where they could flourish to the Italian city-states. So they brought with them manuscripts, they brought with them knowledge, they brought with them ideas, once again, helping ideas disseminate. And as they did this, knowledge continued to burn the flame, right? Now, those weren't the only reasons. The Roman Catholic Church was based out of Rome, and they were making money from all the churches throughout Europe. And as they made money, they also spent money. So think of why they hired Michelangelo to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. So that encouraged Renaissance arts and Renaissance ideas to flourish. Also, there was warfare, not just between the Italian city-states, but then eventually with places like the French kingdom. So warfare, as bad as it is, does lead to ideas spreading as cultures and civilizations interact. It also led to engineering, right? We know Da Vinci wasn't just an artist, he was a military engineer. So all these inventions that were developed for warfare helped sort of become an important factor of the Renaissance and innovation as well. And also we have competition here, competition between artists, competition between the city-states, competition between trading civilizations. And competition can sometimes be healthy, and healthy for new ideas, for innovation, all sorts of things like that. I do want to make a note that the Renaissance did not contain itself to Italy just because it began in the Italian city-states. It did spread, and we're going to talk about that more in a next video. So if you have any questions, please make sure you ask.